Hi, this is BZ Rieger, and I'm going to do some rambling by the river today. Behind me you can see a bit of the Green River, which is just down from the Flaming Geyser State Park. And it's just outside of the big arenas. Keegan and I are at a 3-day agility trial today, so he doesn't get to wander around during this rambling. But I wanted to talk for a moment about having plans, having attachment to those plans, having things flow in a different way, and all the unfolding, the unwinding, the unbinding, the mass arrests, the kind of basically when are the other people going to know what you know, what I know, what we know, and and get with it. And so the whole agility trail today, first day, makes me think of that. Keegan's a young dog, and we're working on becoming partners at agility. And so you have a course with, could be, he's only a novice, so maybe 18, 20 obstacles, and you run the course, could be a few more, you run the course in about 20, anywhere from 24 to maybe 30 seconds. And so you have a plan, you have the course, and then you've got a path that you draw the course for the dog and yourself, and then you have, depending on where each of you are in your partnership and what's going on that particular day, so you kind of got plans and the things that you want to have happen. So from my perspective, it's always good to have the plan, always good to be ready to think in the moment, and always good to not be attached to the plan. Yet committed to the plan and focused to it and inspired by it, and have the plan, your part in it, and Keegan's part in it, be inspired as well, and flow with that. Because that commitment and that excitement, that inspiration, that flow with it, even if things shift and the plan doesn't quite go as the way it was, you're not attached to it, but you had committed to it, so there's a confidence for you and your dog. There's a commitment, you're committing to each obstacle as you're going through them. So that's a really good metaphor for what is going on right now. So I'd say, to kind of tie them together, the course is that everything is changing, and the current thinking of ways to get there is that in the United States there's a lot of quickly unwinding and unbinding that actually has ramifications all over the planet and off-world as well. And the United States is the epicenter of the more linear and the banking, and Europe is more the epicenter of the more intangible and more of the magic of the dark sort behind the scenes. They flow together, and they're certainly not isolated by any definition, but that's kind of where the two main sections are. And so a lot of people think as things are unfolding and information comes to light, and it isn't just any one source, it's a host of them. But people get frustrated if X was slated to happen and X didn't happen, and in that frustration, a common refrain that comes up is, well, that didn't happen, So either this is bullpucky, or it's never gonna unfold because it's just too far gone, and the Cabal and all that is winning. And so there's a whole host of things. And the real reason I wanted to have this conversation is to look in the bigger energy stream, bigger flow, instead of a little stream or a creek. Actually, out west, the creeks are pretty big, different than the East Coast where I'm from originally. But there's a flow, and there's different eddies to what's unfolding. And what the course, to use the agility metaphor, what the course that we're wanting to run and accomplish and have really a good time and satisfaction and accomplishment in accomplishing that course is a big one. And there's a lot of moving parts to it. And it isn't as linear or kind of segmented to say, well, just let the cat out of the bag about, the voter fraud, or arrest those things, or pick anything that seems to be, everybody seems to have a favorite one that they focus on, and that's their yardstick. Because there's lots of reasons, but two that all focus on it. One is that they all go together, and we're moving, all of us are needed in this, and all of us are moving forward and changing everything, even though sometimes, one can get frustrated and think, is this going to take another millennium or two? So everything is shifting, everything is moving forward. And like someone said, well, why are the chemtrails still going if the President Trump is supposed to be such a good guy, and so on and so forth? Well, it's a big honking octopus of all the different tentacles and all of the different kind of veins and venues. And there's a skill required and an energetic read, and there's so many beings, like I said, all of us are involved in this, and different beings have different focuses, different skills, different things that they're doing, and remember, you're not just sleeping at night, so that's where you're doing a lot of this, whether you know it or not, or understand it or not, or believe it or not, doesn't matter, that's the case. And so if possible, hold things in a way where you're more, say, you ever watched big flocks of birds, and they will switch off who's leading, kind of the V part at the front, and not always the same singular bird will lead, but they all move and flow together, and even though the wind currents and the eddies and thermals aren't always visible, they are having to navigate through things that, for all intents and purposes, are invisible to you as you stand up and look at the birds flowing. And so what's going with all of this unwinding and unbinding is there is lots of things visible. There's lots of stuff that is not all that visible, either because it is hidden behind the scenes or because it's purely energetic. And so most beings don't have the trusting and allowing of that ability. They all have that ability, but that trusting and allowing of that ability right now to see the different energy flows, to see the different currents. It's a big topic, but I really got nudged just to speak a little bit about it. It's not just having clean elections. Actually, it's really close here, never having elections of the kind that we've had heretofore ever again. Something totally different. And yes, not having chemtrails, but it's not having a poison or something that blocks the magnificence of Gaia. It's working in unity with our surroundings. So there's a whole host of things. And when we get frustrated, and when we turn off from, okay, well, this isn't working, or this is baloney, or this failed, or we're never going to get, unstuck out of this, we are actually doing a disservice to ourselves, number one, hurting ourselves. And then we're doing a disservice to every other being on the planet, just to give a small scope to it. Because we're energy. And those thought frequencies, and that frustration, and that quick pivoting, we are excited about one thing, it didn't happen, and now we pivot to another way. That's a shift of energy. And so if you magnify that by one person, or 10, or 15, or 100, or thousands, tens of thousands, remember we just talked about the thermals, that's a big thermal of energy current that we've created, that is something that needs to be navigated through. And it's a huge source of food, is the simplest way to put it, for the Illuminati to feed on that. Gives them a boost when they're already, to use very linear terms, on the ropes, and they're already, having to deal with all these people waking up, and all the sheep not being sheep anymore, to use linear kind of derogatory euphemisms. So I just wanted to point that out. So when, whatever it is that we're doing in life, and we have our plan, be committed to the plan, be enthusiastic and excited, so that confidence in yourself, confidence in whatever partner and however that is that you're doing something might be. For my case today with Keegan, it's me and Keegan are partners. And go with the flow, so that you commit to what action you're taking. You commit, as in agility we call it, we draw the path. So he's got a path that he goes, and I have a path that isn't right alongside, but it's different, and I'm committed. So there are times when he will come and run into my path, and he's learning now that I'm actually in my lane, on my path, and he came over, so I'm not going to stop. And so I think that might be a helpful metaphor to use for whatever it is that you're doing, to be committed to it, and to be excited about it, but to be flexible at the same time. And as you see a thermal come up, or you see a shift that needs to be made, that you flow with it. And if you need some, kind of a little poke of incentive, it's when you have frustrated energy, when you have this is, not working energy, you're actually feeding the beast, so to say. You're feeding the Cabal and the Illuminati, and that's something to think about. Do you really want to do that? Is that something that you want to give energy to, give sustenance to, and slow down and hurt and thwart, or at least put speed bumps in the way of yourself and all the rest who are expanding and bringing all of this to a close? So, just something to ponder. Enjoy the day.